Welcome to the Time to Fly podcast. It's time to give your business wings and take flight to achieve more impact, influence, and income with unique perspectives, tools, and tips from successful entrepreneurs and business professionals to help your business fly. Here to educate, encourage, and entertain you with their own unique perspectives and experience, plus sharing anecdotes of growing up as cowgirls. Here's your host, Jill Fleming.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Time to Fly, Give Your Business Wings. I'm your host, Jill Fleming, and today I want to talk to you about a concept called the power of choice. Why should you care? Why should you listen? A little bit about me. I grew up on a ranch in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska, and my 8th grade graduating class was about 4 people. My high school class was about 63 people. One of those choices I made was to be the first person in my family to graduate from a 4-year college institution with a bachelor's degree. I then went on to work for a Fortune 500 company for about 10 years. From there, I took a leap of faith and left my corporate job to start my own business, which was then a photography business. Continued to grow that business and then was missing the business aspect of business. Went back and got certified as a business coach, and I do both. I have a photography business. I also have a coaching and consulting business. So I like to help people unlock what may be blocked for them and to see things from a different point of view. The power of choice. So I just finished watching the movie I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer. And that is definitely a movie that talks about the power of choice, the choice of how we see ourselves, and that 6 inches between our ears that our mindset creates, that how we project ourselves out into the world. And in the movie, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's funny, but it's very true. We are often our own worst critic. Wherever that criticism or that negative mindset comes from, we have a choice to shift that and to choose to do something different. So even if we have a negative thought or a negative point of view about ourselves, we can consciously choose to, even though we have that thought, we can choose to do something different. And so your choice creates your reality. And if you have a reality of you don't feel pretty, you don't feel confident, as in the movie, or if you have a point of view that you're not good at your business, or I'm a bad salesperson, or you have a negative point of view that you keep telling yourself, guess what? That's what you're going to create. Your thoughts create your reality, and choice can create your reality as well. So one of my favorite quotes by Henry Ford is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So it really all starts with your mindset and whether or not you choose to either reprogram your mindset or you let it be right. In my book, Freedom to Fly, I talk about the power of choice in more details. I also share more about my journey that I've been on and all the lessons I've learned along the way. One of my questions for you today is to ask is where are you giving your power away? Where are you giving your power away? To that thought, to another person, whether it's in your office, to a client? Where are you giving your power away? Because when you do that, it is a choice. Are you giving your power away to people that judge you, or to the social media trolls, of not being your full brilliance, of putting yourself out into the world and really sharing your message or sharing what you're brilliant at because you're afraid of judgment? One of my favorite authors is Brene Brown. She talks about daring greatly. The quote that she refers to is called "The Man in the Arena." It goes like this: "It is not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong one stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the person who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail, at least fail while daring greatly, so that their place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat," by Theodore Roosevelt. And that's something I want you to keep in mind as you are striving, as you are putting yourself out into the arena, that there's always going to be the critics. And if you think of an arena, if you think of like a football game, you always have the armchair quarterbacks. The ones that, oh, I could have done it better. I would have thrown it farther. I would have ran a different play. But they're not in the arena. They're not the ones making the calls. They're not the ones in your business that are making the choices to move your business forward. And it's really important to surround yourself with people who will encourage you. So there's always going to be the critics. There's always going to be people that, oh, you should have done this. You should have done that. You could have done it better. Everyone has an opinion. And guess what? A lot of them stink. One thing that I realized is really being selective on who I surround myself with and who's on my bus. You're either on the Jill bus or you're not. If you're not on my team, get off and you don't get a say. And I'm grateful for a lesson that I learned when I had first started doing photography. A dear friend of mine spoke into my life in a time when I really needed it. And the lesson she taught me is be very selective on who you receive feedback from. I had an instance where I had gone to a workshop and the leader of that workshop had given me a very, very harsh critique. Extremely harsh. And I was feeling very insecure and unsure of myself. I was like, well, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I shouldn't do this. And thankfully she came in at a time when I was feeling so insecure and spoke into my life. She's like, their critique was all on style. You just didn't match their style. And especially if you're in a creative industry or a creative field, everyone's feedback is subjective. Some people like certain types of art, some people don't. And that was a good lesson for me, especially in photography, because it is a form of art, is other photographers have all kinds of feedback for you. And, oh, I would do it this way and you should do it that way, and all of these different things of how you should do it. But really, I decided I'm taking my feedback from my clients. Are my clients happy with what I'm creating? Because guess what? They're the ones that pay you. Or that's really something to keep in mind of who are you receiving your feedback from. Remember to be very selective on who you receive your feedback from. And with that, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by the book Freedom to Fly, the visionary leader's guide to unlocking your unique freedom code to confidently create more impact, influence, and income. Get your copy of this best-selling book on Amazon.com.
And welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the power of choice and being selective, being very purposeful in the choices that you make on who you receive feedback from. We often give our power away to other people, their points of view, their judgments. What will the infamous they, whoever they are, what will they think? I've been sharing a analogy recently on being selective on who you receive feedback from or who you receive critique from. Okay, ask the question. All right, would this person attend or cry at my funeral? If the answer is no, then why does their opinion matter? And here's the flip side of that as well. So maybe that person will attend or will cry at your funeral. I liken it to, okay, if this person would attend my funeral or would cry, they get an audience with me. I will hear their feedback. I will hear their critique. I may not take it or I may not implement it, but at least they get an audience with me. So for people who I don't know, or they don't pay my bills, they don't pay my mortgage, they don't get credit. Like they don't get any of the power. They just don't get it. They don't have it invested in me. They have it invested in who I am. So I don't give them my power. What I really encourage people to do is seek out mentorship from those that have what you desire to create. When I am seeking out a mentor, I want to find somebody who's created something that I want. From a mentor, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me how I can do it better. Where can I improve? I absolutely open myself up for feedback there. I'm not saying to close yourself off and be like, oh, I'm right. I do everything right. It's always perfect. I'm always growing and learning, but I seek out people who have what I desire to create and who have been there and done that. So they know the pitfalls. They know what to look for. They have a different perspective than I have, and more than likely can see things that I can't see. Be open to feedback from mentors who have what you desire to create, but be very selective who you receive feedback from that don't have that, especially friends and family members who don't have a life that you want to create. Look at the choices that they're making in their life And are those choices creating what you desire to have? And if they're not, do you really want to receive mentorship from them? So I encourage you to think about the choices that you're making. Your results reflect your choices. And so if your bottom line isn't where you want it to be, take a look at the choices that you're making. Where are you spending your time? Are you getting distracted on social media and not making ads or putting out promotions or putting things out there that could actually drive business? Or could you be spending more of your time on revenue generating activities, making phone calls, putting together a sales page, doing things to get clients in the door or meet people? Maybe you need to go to a networking group. So I just really encourage you to look at the choices you make, because you are at power of choice. No matter what your circumstances, no matter where you're at, you have a choice of how to look at things. You have a choice whether to be positive or negative. You have a choice to be encouraging or critical. And I just really want you to take a moment and really look at your choices and spend the week just being like, okay, here's a result that I have. What choices got me to this result? And once you have that awareness, the really cool thing is guess what? You can make a different choice. Oftentimes people get really hung up on making decisions, and decisions are just a choice. Guess what? If you don't like the results in the majority of decisions, you can make another choice. You just fail forward. Oftentimes we get so hung up in the perfection paralysis of moving forward, and we get hung up in that, and we're afraid to make a choice. The cool thing is you can always make another choice if you don't like the results you get. So I would love to hear some feedback from you. Please send it in to our website. Comment on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. What are some choices that are creating more in your life? Or what are some choices that you're making that haven't created much? And would love to hear feedback from you, who are our listeners. You always receive feedback from your clients, your listeners, because that's who you cater to as well. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, give your business wings. It's time to fly.
A big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Freedom to Fly, the visionary leader's guide to unlocking your unique freedom code to confidently create more impact, influence, and income. Get your copy of this best-selling book on Amazon.com.
Join our flock. Stay informed of all things Time to Fly by subscribing to our newsletter at timetoflypodcast.com. And be sure to tune in to our next show.